Really, I don't know about you. I don't know if you've ever gone into a store, like you're looking for an outfit or something, and you go into a store, and when you realize, I see it mostly in dresses and shirts, right? Tops and dresses, and you will see one size fits all, right? One size fits all. And because I'm mostly on the petite side of things, mostly, I'm on the petite side of things. When I get these oversized outfits, whether a top or a dress or whatever it is, I usually have to take it and get it tailored, right? Because the truth is, even though the outfit may mark in the label one size fits all, or maybe you'll see something like OS, one size fits all, it does not truly fit every single person. Now, this is what we'll be looking at as it relates to your relationship this morning. Because a lot of times people take it for granted that because when you're going through, or you're saying your relationship is difficult at this time, or your relationship is relentlessly difficult, or whatever the case may be, people will, and I find it more in the religious, more religious Christian arena, where persons will say your faith is not strong enough, you're not praying enough, you're not putting in enough time, and they will give you all types of advice. And a lot of times they mean well. Of course they mean well. They want your relationship to thrive, and these are people that you would trust, and these are people that you would open up to, and hoping that you will get the advice and recommendations and the tips and the tools that you need to ensure that you are able to navigate your relationship space appropriately. However, the one size fits all approach that we would see in many garments, it's not always applicable to your relationship. It's not always applicable to your marriage. Now, I am Nicole Kenwood Brown, in case you're wondering. I am your wife coach, your wife strategist, who walk alongside women who are going through difficult relationships. We work with you to ensure that you find your voice, you prioritize yourself, and you fulfill the call of God for your life. Hey, Vanessa. So today we'll be looking at what season is your relationship in. Good morning, good day, good afternoon, wherever you're coming from, whatever time of the day it is. May grace and peace be yours. May the God of Jacob, Isaac, and Abraham, may the God of Nicole bless you this morning as we navigate this topic. What season is your relationship is? What? Let me ask you that question. As you are saying that, and if you know anybody who this information may benefit, please go right ahead and share the info, share the live. Go ahead and share. Go ahead and share. Go ahead and share. That other persons may be enlightened. This information is absolutely free of cost. So go right ahead and share. Now, what season? Because when we seek to get advice, when we seek to get counsel, when we seek to, answer the questions as to what is happening in our relationships, it is with us comparing our relationships to those that we see around us. Am I lying or am I lying? Right? We would compare our relationships to what we believe is supposed to be the standard, is supposed to be the blueprint for relationships. And a lot of times the Bible's blueprint, the Bible's recommendation is not always our first option. It's not always our go-to as to what marriage is supposed to look like. And so we have a tendency we were cultured to look at the movies, right? So my girls, I'm the mother of 4 girls, and I remember Gabriel, the eldest. No, Gabriel I remember one day we were at home. It was just me, her, and her brother at the time. And Gabriel was watching this Disney movie. And she was just going on and, going on. Disney have a way to make things just really very, very picturesque and give you that sense of this is what life is supposed to look like. And I don't remember what her brother said to her. And she said to him, you don't know what it means to be in love. No, she was probably about 8 or 9. And it was such a joke for us. But this is what culture does. This is what the life around us, the media, those who control media. And it's not just now, once upon a time it was TV and music. Now it's social media. It's around us everywhere. And the unfortunate thing is, this is what grooms our children. This is what grooms even us as adults as to what our expectations are supposed to be as it relates to marriage, as it relates to life, as it relates to everything that happens around us. And so when we are saying that our marriages, our relationships are hurting, they're dysfunctional, they're painful, that we're going through different things, it is most times in comparison to what we would have seen on these platforms, to what we would have seen on magazines, Instagram, all over the place. You know, these beautiful couples all made up, and every picture they're kissing and these things. Now, we want to examine what it really is behind the scenes, and not just from my perspective. Because when you would say, I find when you say to persons, you know, mention the whole thing of difficulty in marriage and dysfunctionality in marriage, they are appalled. You have people who have not had a difficult relationship. They do not know what it's like. You have some persons who are married, the first person they met, that's the person they married, and they're having a wonderful time. Not that they don't go through difficulties, but some other things that can, and probably tomorrow we'll look at what makes a relationship difficult. Can we do that tomorrow? Yeah, what makes a relationship difficult, right? And so it's difficult for them to fathom. It's hard for them to fathom and even be able to give you advice. So when you go to people like those who are in their nice little picket fence and, you know, honey, I love you, and when they're hanging up on the phone, honey, I love you, see you later, and all of these things, and it's genuine. That's how their interaction is on a daily basis. It's hard for them to be able to understand that you live in a space where you're continuously going through difficulties, right? But what we want to do today, we want to separate what is your difficulty from your perspective as to the realities of what really takes place in marriage, right? The reality as against your expectations. Is your relationship truly difficult, or is it that you're going through a season in your marriage, in your relationship? That's what we want to decipher this morning and be able to establish, and so we are better able to make a decision. Because some people are crying out, they want to leave. Some people are crying to God, this is too much. So we want to be able to see from a different angle, a different perspective as to whether your relationship is perpetually hard and you are not able to manage, or is it just that it is a season that is natural to all, if not most, if not all marriages. Can we do that today? Can we do that? All right, so that's what we'll be doing, right? Now, there, just like everything else in life, there are 4 seasons, and there are also 4 seasons in marriage, when generally speaking, because we'll be applying those 4 seasons of life, the 4 seasons of the weather and the different patterns, the different seasons. That's what we'll be applying as it relates to this, right? Now, there is the winter. If you are in Jamaica like I am, then winter for you is not the same as somebody who is in Austria, somebody who is in give me one of those in Canada, in the Netherlands, in those colder, icy parts of the world. Winter will be different from me as it relates to what it is to those persons in comparison, right? Also, there are different parts of the world. I remember last year in summer, one of my clients were she was in South Africa, right? So she had a business to do in South Africa, and when we hooked up in South Africa, it was winter while we in Jamaica were experiencing summer. So she left in the summertime in Jamaica to go to South Africa, and when she got there, she had to get winter gears. Now I want you to look at all of this as it compares to your marriage and your life. Now, not everybody goes through their winters all at once. Not everybody goes through their difficulties in their marriages all at once. So don't be in the space where you're always comparing yourself to what you see other people going through, nor set yourself up to receive information from people who have never yet gone through what you are going through. They don't have any understanding of that. They've never experienced a winter in their marriage yet, or it is that their winter is different from what your winter is. Winter in Jamaica mean I can wear spaghetti straps, I can wear a shorts, I can go to the beach. That's how some people's winters are. Some people winter in their marriage, what them call winter, what they call hardship, what is their husband's leaving a dirty plate in the sink. That's their winter. They can still wear spaghetti straps, they can still wear a short, while your winter might be you coming in to find another woman in your marital bed. So you see, the winter is different. So we really want to know what season it is that you're in. You need to know the season so that way you know to pray. You need to know the season so you need to know what information to take into your spirit. You need to know the season so you know where to get counsel and how to dress, how to prepare yourself for it, right? Because the truth is, and you will hear me say this over and over and over, it's not everybody. People will ask you the question up front, why don't you just leave? Why don't you just leave? It's easier to leave when you are not in a marital committed relationship and have gone through different things together, have made investments together, whether it be children, whether it be financial assets, different things. It is not easy to just get up and walk away. And so you need wisdom to navigate. You need wisdom as to the different steps to take as it relates to your relationship. All right. So winter, what does winter look like in your marriage? As we say, might be some person for dirty dishes, but winter is usually that time in your relationship where you're very, very discouraged, right? And nobody is able to understand that point. Worst of all, your spouse, because a lot of times we think that we're giving 100% in whatever we are doing, and so we don't believe that our relationship, it's always the next person's fault. So winter time is in your marriage, in your relationship, is that time when you are so discouraged, right? It is those times when you feel lonely and hopeless. Persons think that their loneliness cannot exist in marriage. And that is why I say to people repeatedly, don't just go off and get married because you are lonely. Don't just go off and get married because you're having financial difficulties. Don't just go off and get married because you want to have sex. Marriage is not the best place to fill those needs. Contrary to what anybody will tell you, marriage is not the best place. There are people who are going to sexual winters in their marriage. People who months, years, their spouses have not physically touched them. Marriage is not the best space to work these things out, right? And so that's even for another discussion where we break down values and break down what to look for and how to, really sniff them out and all of these things. This is where marital sabotage takes place. When you're in your marriage and your spouse is not giving up what they're supposed to, whether it relates to your purpose, whether it relates to finances, it seems like sabotage upon sabotage upon sabotage. And many persons don't believe. We think automatically that when you get married, right, the person that you're married to is your bestie. That person is the person that is cheering you on and is always there for you. And that is how it's really supposed to be. But that's not always the case, right? And in the winter time is when you will see the true colors of your spouse coming out. It is in the winter that there is infidelity. So if you are in a season of infidelity, you're in the winter of your marriage. You are in the winter, especially when it just happened, it's fresh. You are in the winter of your marriage. And that season might, for some persons, is a one-off season. But then there are some persons who live in this winter space for the entire period that they have been with this spouse. From you know your spouse until today, it is always infidelity. Is one woman after the other woman after the other woman. They're always involved in an extramarital affair. So you're stuck in that winter. Because you have some countries in this world that it's not always winter, but it's always cold. Your spouse is always cold towards you. Right? And if we say we're doing difficult, then we're jumping into tomorrow's stuff. Right? So this is where illnesses and death in the family, death as it relates to in-laws, death in friends, the death of friends. This is where miscarriages take place. And you see why you can't just pull from other people's experiences and other people's marriage that is unrelated to your season. I have friends who are married. I have friends who are married, and I have multiple children like me, right? And there was this young lady in particular. I remember, was it 2000? I think it was 2016. Amora was born 2000. Yeah, I think it was 2016 or somewhere there. And you know what? There was always this word from the Lord that kept coming. We're going to have another child. We're going to have another child in the marriage. We're going to have another child. And, you know, I was just there and just anticipating, say, Lord, I'm leaving myself open to all of this. Now, I got pregnant and was going on fine, you know, those early stages of pregnancy. And then all of a sudden, she was the first child in the marriage. So she was probably about 4. Right, 3, 4, yeah, 4, thereabout. And she just took sick. She just took sick. When I tell her she takes sick, my neighbors could hear, and I'm not talking about the closest neighbors, my neighbors could hear when that little girl was bawling. She was just bawling night and day. And yes, we brought her to the doctors, and there was one day in particular when we brought her to one day we brought her to 3 different doctors. And when we went to the last doctor, the doctor said, look, I'm giving you a letter and you're taking her to the Bustamante Hospital for Children, and they are going to do a surgery on this baby. No diagnostic tests were done, so no x-ray, no ultrasound, no nothing. The baby was just sick, and the doctor said, look, based on what I'm seeing, it would appear as if this baby has an appendicitis issue. So we're sending her, and we're going to ask that they rush her to surgery. No, look here. I've been praying. I'm sitting down at night and I said, God, look, what is happening with this baby? I can't sleep. When my husband is sleeping, we're talking about winters in your relationship. My husband is beside me, fast asleep, because we're doing shift, and I cannot sleep because when it's my turn to sleep, the baby is calling for me. And we have another 1+ child, so that baby also needs to be taken care of. And here it is. In that season, I was also pregnant. Catch me? We're pregnant. We have this sick child, and this was going on for a while. Talking about season, this is a winter in your relationship. Now, in the winter in your relationship, at that time, we're not talking about sex. There is no sex. There is no cuddling up. There is no mushy talk, because there is so much, the winds and the weather, the everything that is happening, the snowstorm, the everything that comes with the winter season. It is what is there, and if you're not careful, it is when the arguments start off quickly, poop, 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 as they open your mouth, because you're tired. You've been doing this, and you have to be doing that, and you have to be running up and down, and you've been taking care of. You're supposed to be at work will call you. And all of these things. The winter of your relationship. Now, does this make your relationship hard? Does this warrant you walking away from your because you must understand also that when it comes to the winter time and there is crisis, your spouse will respond differently than you will respond. So they may get upset. They may become critical. Why you not give the baby milk? Why you giving the baby milk and not give the baby tea? if we in the Jamaican context, if the baby cough, then say don't give them milk, give them bush tea because they're gonna so it may become critical of your parenting. It may become so all of these things will crop up. Does this mean that you file for divorce? Does this mean that you pack up your bag and go to your mother and you now come back because all of the things them some are crosses and I can't take a problem and you're going like I may breed myself and yes, Pastor, it's winter in Canada, right? So there will be winter seasons, and it will be so much different when you are going through these different crises. And I remember even when we got to the hospital, and I had to, both of us could not go in with the baby, so we had to get somebody to watch the other children here, because when we went to the hospital there were 4 other children here. So I had to get somebody to watch the children here. We went to the hospital as the parents. When we got to the hospital, the policy does not allow my husband to come in with me. So I had to go in. Remember, I'm pregnant. Now, I am pregnant and at very early stages of pregnancy, I have to be lifting my 4-year-old all over the place to the different departments to get the different tests done. You see, when me call my husband on the phone and realize him outside in the car fast asleep. Remember, we're talking about the winter season in marriage. And when I found out he was fast asleep and I had to sit up with my daughter, moving from different departments to get the different diagnostic tests done, different evaluation. And I remember, hey, look here, it no matter what season of life you are in your relationship, in your marriage, one thing is constant. The seasons will change. Even when we look back into the book of Exodus, and there was in Genesis, and there was the story of Joseph. Wanna correct me if I go wrong, because maybe I go wrong right here, so right. So Joseph, right, in Genesis, and there was Joseph, and he had the dream. Pharaoh had the dream, and he was interpreting the dream. What we recognize is that life is seasonal. Life is seasonal. The struggles and the challenges that you will go through in your marriage will also be seasonal, right? And so here it was, I had to be doing all of these things. One thing, as I said before, is always a constant, no matter how life change, is that God will never leave nor forsake you. Remember, they gave me this letter to take to the hospital for them to do surgery, emergency surgery on the little 4-year-old girl without establishing what was wrong. We had already gone to 3 different doctors, and the 3rd doctor said carry her to the hospital for them to cut her open. And when I went in finally and with all of the results and everything to see the doctor, this doctor said the devil is a liar. We now cut your baby. How is it that we could take your baby to put her and get surgery done on her under this condition? Me sit down up the whole night. By then it was after 4 in the morning. My husband was fast asleep outside in the car. Seasons, winter. These are the difficult seasons in your marriage. And when you are going through your difficulty, understand that your marriage is going through winter, but you can also be in your marriage as the wife, as the woman, and you are going through your own winter season all by yourself. Without your husband cannot understand. You cannot explain your feelings. You cannot express yourself because even you do not understand what you're going through. I want you to understand this, I want you to get it, because it's not your marriage, your calling as a wife is not hinged on your husband. Your calling as a wife is not hinged. Your purpose in God is not hinged on who your husband is or how he shows up. You will be going through, look here, when we go to the book of Job, and I'm not here to preach, but when we go to the book of Job, Job was going through his own winter season as a married man. His wife couldn't understand. His wife said, why you don't just cuss God and dead? When you're there, boy, you're tarry before God and you're being this man of God. Man of God, me mama. Wanna see with me? Man of God, what? You will go through in marriage. You will go to your own seasons while your spouse is there. He was there with his wife, and his wife could not understand what Job was going through. She saw the boils. They shared many things. They shared many things, because the children who died would have been theirs together. The assets that were ravaged would have been theirs together. But what was happening in Job's body? What was happening in Job's mind? What was happening in his spirit? What was happening in his emotions? Was his own experience. And that too must also be taken into consideration. Your marriage is not about your spouse. In an ideal godly situation, both of you are supposed to be walking alongside each other, and you will be the helper to the visionary who is carrying it as the head. But it doesn't always go like that. And in the winter, here we were. And by the time I left the hospital with the baby, got medications, whatever it were, came home. 3 days after, I was at work, and my friend Karine stopped by, and we said we're going Bible study. And we said, all right, we could just walk. And we were walking and we were talking. I kept saying to Karine, I don't feel well. Something is wrong. I can't explain it to you, but I don't feel well. And look here, I was going and we were chatting and everything. I went to church. Me, one of them look at church people, they would do everything at church. So of course there was something at church. I went to church, clean up the church, fix up the church, dust chair, sort out, and then proceeded to lead praise and worship. So I did that, then lead praise and worship. After I led praise and worship, did the preliminaries. I wasn't the person teaching Bible studies that night. So by the time pastor came, I handed over and I said to him, I have to go, I'm not feeling well. So I said to Karen, let's go. We were going, talking about winter season in your marriage. We were going and we were talking, Mr. Karen, I'm not feeling well. By the time I stepped through the door, the Lord said to me, take your prayer shawl and wrap yourself in it. Went to the bathroom bed, just seeing a little spotting and everything, took my prayer shawl and wrapped myself in it, wrap up myself and lie down in one. Now even in that, I could not say to my husband this was what was happening. Right? Why I couldn't say it to my husband? Because I couldn't break it down to explain. 1, 2, what were you doing? And I would have to give an account of my day. How me draw a chair, how me walk down church, how me whatever. Right? So crisis, on top of crisis, on top of crisis. So I lay down there and I said, God, if I go tonight to the hospital, it won't make any sense because they're going to send me for ultrasound. Now, I work where ultrasounds are done. So tomorrow when we go work, I will just do the ultrasound and we'll see what happens. Severe pain, severe back pain, severe lower abdominal pain. And I'm having all of these pains, and I have just wrapped myself and the entire night just speaking to the Lord, just talking to the Lord and speaking in tongues and just talking to the Lord. We're talking about the winter season in marriage. And here it was that I was there. Morning came and I went to work. Get myself ready, went to work, everything. Went into the room, asked one of the ladies, the sonographers, look here, do this ultrasound for me. When we did the ultrasound, the report was the baby, no heartbeat. The baby's heartbeat was gone. Baby's heartbeat was gone. This is what happens in the winter of your marriage. Now, this is something that as a woman, as a wife, and especially for those ladies who've never mothered. By then, I had mothered 3 children. 4 children. Right? So, especially for those women who have never had a child and you're having miscarriage, multiple miscarriages. That's a winter season. Which man can understand a miscarriage? Which man can understand the intensity of the pain? The difference between a miscarriage and having a child is that a miscarriage, the pain is continuous until that fetus is passed from your body. When you are pregnant and you're giving birth, then there is a contraction, break, contraction, break. When you are miscarrying, the pain is continuous. When you are going through your winter season, the cold is continuous. You may have days when you have on the appropriate clothes, but when you go out on the road, the temperature drop or temperature elevate. You have to make adjustments. You have to make necessary adjustments. And winter is not the best time to walk out of your relationship. May I tell you, because winter cool and nobody know why. When you can go lie down on the side of the street in the other seasons, you cannot go into winter. So it may not be the best time. I suggest that you are, if you identify that you're in the winter of your life, huddle up, put on the appropriate clothes that is necessary for the season, and stand in the midst of it until when the weather changes, because change is a must in life. It not necessarily mean that is a change that you want, but change is a must, and the season will change. So this is when you go through that your mother dead, your mother-in-law dead, back to back you'll see these things happening. That's when your spouse will die. That's a winter. You will have. So I had that miscarriage. I had 2 more losses? That was not one. I had 3. Winter season. And we're jumping off, because we can talk about this whole day, but the spring is a time of new beginnings. Spring is when the flowers start coming back out. Spring is when you hear the chirping of the birds again. Spring is when the blood has dried up from the miscarriage and you no longer have to wear sanitary napkins. Spring is when the pain is not is as intense and the memories are drifting a little bit. Spring is a time of new beginnings, renewal, fertility, hope. Spring is when you feel like you love your husband again. Spring is when your husband cheated, but winter is when he would have cheated, but spring is when he comes to you and say, I recognize that what I did was wrong. Can we do counseling together? It brings hope. So even though you might not have made up your mind yet what you are going to be doing as it relates to the marriage, at least you have hope that your husband understands and can empathize with what you are going through. So this is when you start spending some more time together. Because in winter you would have drifted. Remember in winter when I had the little baby and I was pregnant and we had the other daughter sick, there was no cuddling, no hugging, no sex, no all of these things. But spring is when things subside a little bit and you're wearing a little heavy clothes but not as heavy. So you start spending more time, you start expressing appreciation, and this is where you start telling your spouse, I am so happy you were there with me through all of what was happening in the winter. It was during that time when my husband sneaking medication come give me in the hospital that I wasn't supposed to take. These little things. And even though he fell asleep in the car, he was there. Some men would have called a taxi to drop me off and come home. So this is when the hope begins to stir again. And let me tell you, it will happen. It will happen. One thing I can say to you, look here. Not because of what you are going through and what you would have gone through, it does not change God's definition of marriage. It will not change your little one experience does not change God's definition of marriage. It doesn't. And I'm telling you, some persons are not able to empathize with you. Hey, Florida girl, June. Not everybody is able to empathize because some people never go through any serious hardship in their marriage. I kid you not. If you begin to unveil and unlock some things that people you would have gone through, if I begin to unveil and unlock some things that a woman would have expressed to me that they've gone through and are going through in their marriage, it blow your mind. It blow like you would never believe when you're over here. I say, boy, my marriage hard. My husband love food. My husband love sex. My husband nasty. Him not there. Man, him not happy the house. Trust me. That a baby something compared to some people. And I'm not undermining what you're going through. But I'm saying there are people that have never been exposed to what you have experienced. And so you have to exercise wisdom in these seasons. And this is a season, one of the things you have to be careful about in winter is when you are going through the different things, when your husband cheated, when he took all of the money from the bank, the different things that happens to make a relationship difficult, when all of that would have happened, when your in-laws came against you, when he didn't respond appropriately to the death of the baby or whatever happened, or he dug up some old things that you would have shared with him, you go express this to your friends, your church people, the people in your corner. It is in spring that these things will come back and be thrown in your face. Because when springtime comes around and you and your husband making it up and loving up again and everything, is those things that you would have told people in winter. So be very, very careful who you express yourself to in your winter season. Because when spring come back and them see your husband with fresh dating pictures and you sit down on his lap and you tell them before, say, who? This a dirty man? Be careful. When you tell your in-laws stuff, remember, feed them son, I feed them brother. Be careful when you tell your mother and your sisters and your friends and your church folks about your husband in your winter season when things are hard. Because when spring comes back around, if you tarry long enough and spring comes back around, it will be thrown back into your face. Or it may be. So be careful. Now there is summer. And summer is when you let down your hair. Summer is when you get to that place where all of the sexiness and the nice vibes and the heat, is a different kind of heat coming summer. So you will experience that freshness as if nothing ever happened, because in spring you would have gotten the hope and you would have rekindled, and summer come with little quickie them. Summer come with the little gifts and tokens. Summer comes with all of this, the rekindling. There's lots of physical touch and intimacy in summer, because summer come with heat. Summer comes with heat. Summer comes with you going out more regularly. You are able to express yourself more freely, because summer comes with this level of abandon and freedom. And for those persons who have been married for a number of years, who have stood the different tests that come, they will tell you that you will experience these seasons over and over and over in your marriage. It's a little bit different for those persons who are in narcissistic relationships, because the cycle happens so much faster. It happens and repeats so much quicker. It destabilizes you in so many different ways, and we'll talk about that another time. But in a regular, normal setup, everybody goes through the different season. Everybody goes through the different season. Everybody. And that's why, as a wife, one of the most important assignments as a wife is that of being an intercessor. Is that of being able to spend time in the presence of the Lord, that you'll be able to deposit wisdom into your spirit to know how to navigate the different seasons that come. So winter is where you go back out, and all of the seeds that you would have sown summer, in winter and in spring, you start see them bloom coming up. So there's a lot of emotional intimacy. So this is the time when you have the regular date nights and a whole heap of recreational activities together. But there is another season again as the cycle continues, and it's what we call autumn, or for some in other countries it's fall. This is the season of uncertainties. This is when the leaves start falling off of the trees and things start to look different. They start drying up again. Cannot not last forever. The Bible says in everything there is a season for everything under the sun. Nothing lasts forever. No season in your marriage, whether it's hard or it's great, it will not last. That's why that Joseph had said to Pharaoh, the Lord said, bag up. For when it's plenty, bag up. Because there's going to be a time of lack. When it's good, let it be all good. Because there's going to be a season when you will be challenged. So there will be changes, especially for those persons who are in long-term relationships. And women are coming down to menopause, and men are coming down to andropause, and you realize that the regularity of sex is not the same. When you tarry in a relationship long enough, you realize that the man's, the erectness, that level of erection that you will have experienced earlier in the marriage, it's not the same. It's not get a little bit. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I really admire her, because she tarry in our relationship. Whole heap of winters, whole heap of autumn, long-standing winters. And one of the things that I asked her the other day, I said, how is the sex now that he's with you 100%? And she said, there's so much that I've missed out on. There's so much that we have missed out on. Because when I would have desired sex and want sex around the clock, my husband was never there. And now that he would want to have sex, because I'm coming down to menopause, the desire is not the same. In addition to that, when I am in the mood and wanting sex, he's not able to have the erection that he used to have. Seasons. I used to be at work, and in the department I have some old man come for test. And is you going to them test, You will get them ready, you're putting on the gown, you're putting them in the room, and and sometimes their wives are right there, not immediately in earshot, but they are there in the department. And they're giving you all kind of argument. And they say, oh, I'm to them, you know, so them at it gallus. But when you look now, you go into the test, you see some penis just fenke, lenky. He can't do nothing. Can't do nothing. And that's why marriage has to be so much more